Hey, good afternoon. It is Wednesday. That means it is the 573 report on Power Mizzou, brought to you by 573 Tees, which may or may not have produced a new t-shirt on Tuesday night related to something that may have aired on Kansas City News, which I cannot repeat, but would highly recommend you check out their Twitter account at 573TEES to check out. It is topical in advance of Missouri playing Kansas in basketball, and I will just leave it at that. It is the holiday season, Christmas a couple weeks away. If you need a gift for the Missouri fan in your life, or really just for a Missouri resident in your life, either go downtown in Columbia on in Alley A between 9th and 10th Street, or go to their website at 573tees.com. Check it out. Pick up something. They've got all kinds of options for you guys, great partners of ours all year long, and encourage you certainly to do some of your holiday shopping with the people over at 573 Tees. And we now bring in Mitchell Forde, whose camera angle I forgot to adjust, so he is incredibly large on your internet screen right now, but we're taking care of that. It is all fixed. And Mitch, I really only want to know one thing. You were at the Missouri Eastern Illinois basketball game last night. How many Ruiz Castillo tacos did Marty Simmons order on the way to Columbia?
I think a lot. He looks like he could put away a good number of tacos, and this is real, like true thing. I saw two different Eastern Illinois players throw up in a trash can on the sidelines. That they apparently have some sort of bug going around, or the tacos didn't sit real well on the way in. I don't know. I refuse to think Ruiz Castillo could do that. The fine people there who once spurred Eastern Illinois onto victory.
Yes, and I refuse, frankly, to explain this story and why we find so much joy in it. If you don't know, you don't know, and you're going to find out eventually. Every time Missouri plays Eastern Illinois, and even when they don't, we will bring it up for future years. Speaking of throwing up, I don't know, there were probably times sitting in the arena you wanted to throw up watching that game.
Yeah, it wasn't the prettiest. Eastern Illinois, man, they are bad. That was a rough offensive display. Missouri obviously not a ton better. They only shot 2 of 19 from 3. Two teams that rank in the bottom 5 nationally in at least one offensive category. Eastern Illinois ranks there in most offensive categories. Missouri is there now in 3-point shooting. So yeah, they're now 24% on the season. They did at least at some point figure out, like, oh wait, we're way bigger and more athletic than this team, and I know people have knocked on the athleticism of this team, but they were more athletic last night. We can just get the ball in every single time and score and or get fouled. So they scored 50 points in the paint. Freshmen played a bit. Nice to see a win, I guess, but it was not exactly what I would call a piece of basketball art.
Yeah, we're not going to spend a ton of time talking about that game. I know you want to. I know you would like to break down the pick and roll stats and all that in that game. I don't know. Trevon Brazile played, and I guess that's a good thing. The freshmen were allowed to be on the court. It means nothing. I'm asked a lot of times, if you could ask anybody a question and know you're getting an honest answer, what would it be? And I think actually right now it would be, but for real, Konzo, you told us this was a good shooting team. Like, was that a real thing that you thought? Is there a reason you think that? Like, what led to that statement? Because they're shooting 24% from three-point range. And I'm not going to say I could shoot 24% from three-point range because I know I couldn't. But I think there's a chance you could.
Yeah, maybe. It's been actually a little while since I played basketball. I was a decent shooter. With no one guarding me, I definitely think I could. And honestly, last night, a lot of those were, it's not like it was bad shot selection. I didn't think. A lot of those were just wide open shots. They actually airballed more than they made. I didn't count the airballs, but it was more than 2. I know that for sure. So yeah, I don't know. I assume that the 3-point shooting will get a little bit better as the season goes on. It kind of has to. It kind of, they'll probably have a good shooting night or two thrown in there. But at this point, I think we can confidently say that he was not correct in saying this is a good shooting team.
Yeah. Also want to invite you guys who are watching live, and appreciate everybody who's watching live. Hit the like button. But also, if you have questions, comments, we've got a few built up in the comment queue. But if you have questions and comments, make sure to put them over there. We will certainly get to them, and we'll address those more in the second half of the show. We've spent way too much time talking about Missouri, Eastern Illinois. As long as we're on basketball, we'll go ahead and do this part of it. Missouri is at Kansas on Saturday. Missouri's going to win, right? That seems fairly obvious to me.
Yeah, it would only be a slight upset in the net where Mizzou is number 278 and Kansas is like number 4 or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, no one expects Missouri to win. It's really, honestly, just it's noteworthy just for the storyline. Really, nothing to do with the game on the court.
I think actually Missouri's biggest victory in this game is piss off Kansas. We're going to kill your net ranking just by playing us. You go down in all the rankings. But in all seriousness, and I'll be interested because obviously your dad went to Mizzou. You knew more about Mizzou sports coming to Missouri than most people at 18 that are your age now do. What's your understanding of this rivalry and your kind of background in it?
Yeah, I understand that it's very intense for sure. I always knew that, Missouri and Kansas didn't like each other. And having been in Missouri for 8-9 years now, you can still hear and feel that. All the time, we talk about people capitalizing the K in Kansas, and you just hear stuff about Kansas. But I've never been to a Mizzou Kansas sporting event. Really, I haven't seen the fans interact all that much, in person. It's not even growing up in Louisville, it wasn't just the game for Mizzou and Kentucky or Louisville and Kentucky games, because I didn't really go to the games all that often. It was more so in school or, in neighborhoods, in offices, stuff like that. And I'm sure that still happens in Kansas City, but I'm not really around those people because I work from home. So,
because you're not around any people.
Right. Yeah. I understand intellectually that it is a big deal and these teams don't like each other, but I'm excited to see see it in person.
Yeah. So that's the interesting part to me as someone who literally in my dad's office, there was a poster with a tree bent over that said, why do trees in Missouri lean to the west? Because Kansas sucks. Who was raised in this rivalry well before I covered Missouri or came to school at Missouri, and who there were people in my wedding who were KU fans, and I think that's the beauty of it. I know a lot of Missouri fans look at this and say, well, I won't shop at this business that likes KU, and I won't be friends with this person. No, that's the fun of sports, is the fact that, you can know people who like the other team and give each other a lot of crap about it. But what is weird to me about this Saturday is the only person on that court, and I don't know who the Kansas assistants are. Probably a couple of them will have participated in it. But the only player or head coach who has any background in this is Bill Self. There is nobody on Missouri's roster to tell the people in this locker room, this is why you should care. And this is what this is. And, I know, to people my age, it's still a thing. But I wonder if it's just not quite the same because it has been 9 years since they played, and it's just not the same thing as it used to be.
Yeah, that's fair. I also do think, that it's one of those things where probably when the players, see and feel the atmosphere and the energy, that they will probably make sense to them that it is, a bigger game than most. And maybe that's not quite the case this year because Missouri is so bad, although I still think it'll be a juiced up atmosphere. But, when was it, 2017 that they had that scrimmage for relief when, it was a preseason game. But you could tell, and I wasn't even there, but I, just understand. I think the players could tell that was a big deal. The game didn't even count, but it was I mean, it was, a charged up atmosphere. So I think that, even if the players don't have experience with it, they may not have the hatred from stories handed down or past experiences or close losses or whatever. But I think that they usually do feed on the atmosphere. But yeah, I agree that definitely, taking the time off and the separation will have, at least for a little while, make it, not quite the level of intensity that it was.
Yeah, and I know every time I talk about this, I know that I piss Missouri fans off, but God, it's a great place to watch a Missouri-Kansas game. Like, I mean, it is one of those places that you walk in. I saw a football game at Notre Dame a couple years ago. I've seen a baseball game at Yankee Stadium. Like, there are just certain places that you kind of walk in and go, all right, this is a little bit different, and they will – I know Kansas fans have spent 9 years saying we don't care about this, and I saw that yesterday Jesse Newell from the Kansas City Star tweeted out there are already 100 people camping out, so they obviously don't care. 5 days before the game, don't care at all. But they will play Grandpa Simpson, saying something about the 49 states because he will be cold in the ground before he recognizes Missouri, and the place will blow up and it'll be amazing. And I don't know, like, I know it's going to be a terrible game, but this is what college sports are about to me. Like, I am looking forward to this Missouri basketball game 27,000 times more than I care about any other game played this season.
Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, I think that, we've talked about the Missouri move to the SEC and all that, and how it was the right move for a lot of reasons. But yeah, you definitely did lose some of obviously the rivalry with Kansas, but just some of the more, regional opponents, and that is, part of the fun. It's just the every year experiences there, and games that your fans can go to, or I mean, not really in this case, because I assume it'll be pretty much sold out by Kansas fans, but teams you get familiar with, fans you get familiar with, and so yeah, it'll be good to rekindle that. I hope it. I mean, it's it's a 6-game series right now. I hope it becomes an annual thing. I really do. I hope it becomes like those other non-conference rivals that play every year, because I think that would be the best way to try to kind of get the rivalry back to where it was, is if it's an every year thing. And I kind of do like the play once a year aspect instead of twice, because it's like one team has the definitive bragging rights, kind of like in the bragging rights series. Like, it's, if you lose that game, you have to hear about it for the next 365 days.
And we'll get off this and move on to some football and recruiting and stuff in a minute. But like you mentioned earlier, you grew up in Louisville, and it was Louisville, Kentucky. And to me, this rivalry is every bit what that one is, every bit what Duke, Carolina is. But I assume growing up in Louisville, like, you compare everything to the Louisville, Kentucky rivalry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, to me, that's the standard for sure. I saw it every day, lived through it every day, and this could be close to that, but it's hard for me to imagine, frankly. I mean, I don't see anyone getting in fights in dialysis clinics here. That's our trump card.
All right, well, here's my trump card, and I've told this story before. I don't know if I've told it to you, but legitimately, my grandmother grew up on a farm where people from Kansas came and made her family dig their own graves. And that is where this rivalry is rooted, right? Like, at gunpoint, so like, this is not about basketball, and it is not about football.
Yeah,
and
no, that's true. This rivalry is different in that it's actual, like, it actually goes back to the two states hating each other. Like, there's no, obviously Louisville is part of Kentucky. There's no, like, hatred of the state of Kentucky by people who live in Louisville. It's just the schools. So that is a little bit different here. That's for sure.
And it is the one reason I will say I have no shame in the only piece of fandom I hang on to is hating Kansas basketball and saying that, like, this is rooted, like, legitimately in blood in the Civil War, and that's why I think it's different than everything else. And that's also why, frankly, I hate that we just can't even pretend it matters on Saturday, right? I mean, it does matter, but also, like, once we reach the first TV timeout on Saturday, we're probably going to understand that it doesn't really matter. And whatever, it'll be what it'll be. We'll go, and I think it'll be great to be there. And I really didn't mean to spend this much time on basketball, but frankly, at this point, it's kind of the thing that's out there that, hey, this is the reason we're paying attention to the season. The reason we're paying attention to football right now is recruiting, and we've got some questions. The first two questions we got were about DJ Wesolak, and I just want to say I've been doing this for 19 years, and currently the Boonville defensive lineman is rivaling what I've seen for the most dramatic recruitment. So I'm going to assume it's the most dramatic one you've seen.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's been a lot of twists and turns for sure between, all the top schools lists, several that didn't include Missouri, to, the somewhat mysterious absence, to learning he was cleared of the arrest, to saying basically, I mean, it seemed from what we were understanding that, he was almost a done deal to come to Mizzou, to now going on his visit to LSU instead this weekend. There's been a lot there for sure, and I get why fans are annoyed. I personally, I guess it's hard for me to quite wrap my mind around like getting emotional about how a 17-year-old views your school, but I'm glad you all do, because that means you pay us. So yeah, I mean, like it's interesting for sure, and I don't think anyone at this point, it feels confident enough to say they know for sure what he's going to do. It does seem like this LSU offer is legit, is committable if they're bringing him down on an official visit right before the early signing period. But obviously he's been to Missouri like 57 times. I don't think he needed to come to Missouri for one more visit.
Including last weekend when there were a couple official visitors in town and he stopped by for a day on an unofficial visit. I would say a couple things. Mike Farrell, who is our national guy at Rivals, put in a future cast for DJ to Missouri this morning. I texted with him a little bit about it, and I texted with DJ actually this morning and said, hey, but we'd love to come out and cover your announcement. Obviously, if it's Missouri, that's going to appeal more to the people we cater to, but as just Rivals, we'd love to be there. And he said, yeah, I'm working out of time. Would love to have you guys there. So whatever it is, we're going to go. And it seems really weird to say, but the tea leaves still kind of point toward he's probably going to end up at Missouri. I know that I've said that now, and that there will be many posts on our board if I'm wrong, insulting me, and that's fine. We do what we do. I do never pretend to be able to predict the future, but people frequently ask that we try. So, Floyd asks, how many players is Drinkwitz planning on taking in this class, and how many spots are left to fill? So they've got 15 commitments. We're still thinking they're going to take between 25 and 28 total. The interesting thing will be how many of those guys sign, next week, and how many spots they have left going into January.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, basically, Floyd, it's a mess. We don't know for sure how many they're going to take, and therefore we don't know for sure how many they have left. I wrote something yesterday kind of breaking down the roster and just, who's leaving for sure, who could leave, and how many more players they could add at each position. And like, it's not, it's not a concrete thing. It depends, which of the seniors who still have eligibility left but would normally be seniors come back, and how many other players transfer. I'm still thinking it's going to be a total of somewhere between like 26 and 28 total additions in this 2022 class, including transfers. And I think they're at 16 right now, 15 or 16 right now. Okay, 15 right now. So there you go, somewhere, at least 10 more. But not all of those are going to come between now and next Wednesday. In fact, I would say the vast majority will come after that, either before February signing period or even like after spring ball in the transfer portal.
Yeah, so we're at 20 minutes for the show, and we generally spend about 30 minutes. So I was sitting there thinking, I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about for the next 10 minutes. But luckily, Jake B has come through with a question that's going to help us out. He says, no need to release names, but how many uncommitted players are you expecting on campus this weekend? I can tell you that I think there's going to be between 15 and 20 kids on campus this weekend. I would say in the neighborhood of half of those are going to be committed kids. Obviously the headliner is Luther Burden, but like Max Wisner still has not taken his official visit. He'll be on campus this weekend. Quite a few of the committed kids are going to be here, and I use that as kind of a lead-in to a story that's actually going to be on our site tomorrow morning. I spent some time with Brett Whiteside, who is basically the director of recruiting for Missouri, the chief recruiting officer. And people hear that and think, oh, well, he's the lead. Kind of like when Casey Woods left. Oh, well, the recruiting coordinator, he recruits everybody. No, that's not at all what Whiteside does. He lines up all the travel. He plans the visits. He, gets these kids. And even I was in his office for an hour, and I think even we don't really understand what goes into putting a recruiting class together over the year. I mean, they've got 50 hotel rooms booked for this weekend. They've been communicating with caterers since the summer about this weekend. They've got to line up 20 different flights. They legitimately, they can provide transportation door to door. So they send cars to pick the kids up to take them to the airport in their hometown to fly to Missouri. It constantly amazes me just the machine that this is and everything that goes into just getting players to, December 15th and signing a piece of paper.
Right. And that's just the logistics of getting them on campus. That doesn't even go into building the relationship, getting to know the people in their inner circle, who is important, who has, their ear, all of that type of stuff. That's just truly just getting them on a visit. So, and then, on a game day weekend, you've got, game day passes and who's going to, take time away from the actual team to show them around and stuff like that. It's pretty incredible. It really is. I think that'll be an interesting story. But yeah, this will definitely be an important recruiting weekend. I mean, there's only 2 here in December, and we just had one before this early signing period. Usually there's 3, and Mizzou didn't have many guys on campus last weekend, so this is kind of the last big push before the majority of these guys are going to sign.
Yeah, and I asked Brett, I said, by the time somebody signs a letter of intent, how many people have actually been involved in this process? And realistically, he said every single person in this athletic department, but he said there's more than 40 probably that are directly involved, from graphic designers to, recruiting coordinators to this and that. And I think I don't know whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. It's just, it is bizarre how much goes into this whole process for what realistically ends up being like a 50-50 shot that a kid's ever going to be a player.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and for, how many kids come out on an official visit year? I mean, how do they get 50 something at least? Maybe
they get 56 in a normal year. They get 62 this year.
Yeah, so they have to do that that many times, and then the chances that those kids are going to commit to Mizzou is about 50%, and then the chances that the ones that do are going to end up contributing is probably about 50%. So it is a lot of work, but as Eli Drinkwitz says, recruiting is the lifeblood. It's what keeps the program going. So more and more staffs are devoting more and more resources to it, and you can see why. That you wouldn't want to have your head coach doing all that while also trying to coach the team. So it's pretty crazy.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I had to line up a flight for my son to leave college to go to a training trip with his team to Florida and then come back home and then go back to school. That was enough for me. 3 flights, I'm good, man. I don't want to have to do this anymore. So I feel like it would be a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, you didn't even have to worry about meals and who's driving them places. Yeah.
Wait, he needs to eat?
Yeah, well, I'll figure that out.
Yeah. Well, that's none of my concerns. So, I don't know. I feel like we've kind of covered it. I mean, there will be, I don't know, I guess bowl practices at some point. I don't really know. I have no firsthand knowledge of that. It just seems like they will practice for it at some point. We don't know if we'll be able to see it or anything along those lines.
Yeah, maybe they even already kind of have started, although Drink did say that they were kind of wait until the weekend because of finals and stuff going on this week and next week. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously Saturday we'll be in Lawrence, so we'll see if there's something to cover. We'll be there.
Yeah, so appreciate you guys who were watching live, hanging out with us, and little bit shorter than normal because next Wednesday I feel like we're going to have a full day. We will, if we are able to squeeze a show in next Wednesday, we will. I know Mitch is going to be up in Kansas City following some kids who are signing with Missouri. I am going to maybe go out to Boonville and see DJ Wesolak. We'll have somebody over in St. Louis. It will be the busiest day of the year. And one last question, and kind of ties into this. Brett Stevens says, can you predict one surprise commit coming from this weekend? And again, like if I could predict it, it's no longer a surprise, right? So, Mitch, I don't know if you have an answer to that question.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I still don't know the full list of who's visiting, to be totally honest. So until I see that, it would be tough. You already kind of did predict one that then people are now kind of already mad at you for, even though it hasn't been proved wrong in DJ Wesolak. So
yeah, that's fair.
I mean, you put it in a future cast.
I predicted DJ Wesolak to Missouri like 3 weeks ago. Last night, it looked unlikely. Today, it looks maybe a little bit more likely, but truthfully, we have absolutely no idea. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll have a list of visitors on Friday morning in the chamber, and we will do our best to talk to however many of those kids actually do interviews and answer text messages. And I don't know. That's all I got to say about that. I'm getting discouraged just thinking about it. So, yeah, I don't know. Anything else?
No, that's it. We'll, be there Saturday and deal with the recruiting stuff and everything else that happens over the next week.
All right, cool. So send us your messages, what you want us to pass on to Bill Self on Saturday. We will let him know that you have all sent your regards. So, all right, Mitch, we'll talk to you later, man. Thanks for hanging out. All right, so appreciate Mitchell Forde hanging out with us for a while, and appreciate you guys watching. Again, it's really just kind of a weird time right now. Like, there's a lot of things that are going to happen, but a lot of them have not happened yet. But if you're here watching live with us, do me a favor, hit the like button on the show, subscribe to the channel, all that. When we are live, you'll get notifications, and we're kind of winding down as far as our streaming shows. We're gonna still be next week, still on the same schedule, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. At least we hope Wednesday. We're working out our schedule Wednesday, seeing where everybody's going to be, covering signing day, all that. But Monday, Tuesday, definitely next week. Hopefully Wednesday, and then after that, we'll kind of reset and see what goes on in the spring and all that. But appreciate all you guys who either have been with us every week and every day during the season, or maybe you're joining us for the first time, but subscribe to the channel. You'll get a heads up when we do go live. If you're listening on the podcast, give us a nice review, pass on what we're doing to other people. It does help. I don't know why. I don't understand the algorithm, and I don't want to take the time to, but appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us, and appreciate, once again, 573 Tees. They are the presenting sponsor for this show every week. Once again, just go to their Twitter handle at 573tees.com. They have a new t-shirt that you might want to get and have in your hands by Saturday when Missouri plays Kansas in basketball. I don't really feel comfortable describing it and saying what it says, but just go to their Twitter account and you'll find it. And you can order it online at their website, 573tees.com. If you happen to be in Columbia in the next couple weeks before Christmas, go down to Alley A between 9th and 10th Street in downtown Columbia. Check them out. Tell them you found out from Power Mizzou wherever you order, and support them. We ask you guys to do that. We couldn't do what we do every week and every day during the season without our sponsors helping us out. So we just ask that you help them out. So thanks for hanging out. We're done streaming for the week, but plenty of news coming up. Huge recruiting weekend, and we'll be back next Monday. So we will see y'all later.